guys, welcome back to This Girl Rants. So today we're going to be discussing Gathering Blue. So this is the second book in the Giver Quartet, and just so you guys know, there will be spoilers, and let's just go ahead and start discussing it. So like The Giver, I thought that this book was really good. I like the fact that all of its issues seem to be major in scale, but enacted in simplicity, if that makes sense. So in this book, we have Kira, who is a disabled girl, but is like really good at needlework. And it turns out that the society she lives in generally is pretty set. It's survival of the fittest. If you can't contribute, you're out. But because of the fact that she has this gift with needlework, the leaders decide that she gets to stay and live and survive and basically be taken care of because she has a gift of knowledge of needlework. And she runs into a boy named Thomas who has the gift of knowledge in woodworking, and a little girl who has the gift of knowledge in singing. So it's interesting because this is definitely in the same world as The Giver, but it's not in the same society. So the Giver society seems to be more futuristic and high-tech, and the Kira society seems to be, it's not as high-tech. There isn't as much structure, there isn't as much technology, and it is a lot of, there are, elders and there are laws, but there's a lot of fighting and contention, whereas in Jonas's society from The Giver, that was basically eradicated, the arguing and contention. But it's interesting because both of those societies seem to look at anything as being different as being bad, and so both of those societies exile those things that are different, that they consider to be hindrances. And so in this book, it's basically Kira figuring out about her gift and about the fact that the leaders of the village seem to be keeping a secret, and she has thought her entire life that her father was killed by a beast before she was born, and at the beginning of this book, her mother dies from illness. And she finds out that in reality, her father was still alive and he lived in a different village, basically, and that she's fairly certain that her mother was poisoned because the council wanted to have control of her gift, because it finds out that Thomas's parents were also died when he was young, and so she has this theory that the council is here to control them. And this book, I don't know what Lois Lowry is doing but she likes open endings, I guess, which aren't my personal favorite. There's a lot of things, the more I read of her books, the more questions I have. And it's just kind of frustrating. And so, it doesn't answer any questions from The Giver. The only hint that The Giver was a thing is the fact that Kira's friend Matt goes to the different village where he finds her dad, and when he comes back, he says there's a kid around Kira's age who has pretty blue eyes. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that's Jonas. But that's it. That's all we get from it. And I mean, it's a good story. I was just really frustrated. I wanted to know what happened to Jonas and to Gabriel, and we don't figure that out here, and I'm hoping that we can figure that out in one of the other books. There's just still a lot of questions that I have. And they were not answered in this book. It just gave me more questions. It's a good story. It's interesting, but it's like The Giver and this one, Gathering Blue, ended in the middle of it. Like, before you even got to the real climax of the story, and I'm just like, what? Yeah, it's a little frustrating, and I'm probably going to be really annoyed if none of this is resolved. So here's hoping that as I read the next ones, some of these questions get resolved, but who knows. But yeah, overall it was a good book. It had an interesting story, it had an interesting idea, but it just leaves you with more questions than with answers. And for me personally, a book like that can be good occasionally, but it's not my favorite go-to writing style. I like to feel like there's a complete ending, and I didn't really get that feeling with this one. And I didn't really get that feeling with The Giver, although I feel like The Giver had a little bit more of a completed ending than this one. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, thanks for listening to me rant about Gathering Blue. Sorry, can't talk. Make sure you like and subscribe, and hope you guys have a great day.